We've had some really good guests, but now we have a Hall of Famer. John McClain, Pro Football Hall of Famer and also writer, voter, etc., joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio. John, Paul, Craig, David. So we saw the Nolan Ryan trailer. We're going to have, of course, a chance to help promote that comes out. Craig mentioned it again in May. But you, John McClain, in the trailer, man, you are highfalutin.
Speaking of Hall of Fames, I'll be in Waco May 21st for the Texas Sports Hall of Fame induction. I'll be the only inductee outside the Metroplex. I'll be repping Waco and all the rest of the state. Can't wait to come there. As far as that documentary, Reed Ryan, Nolan's son, who was Astros president for years until he was replaced 2 years ago by Jim Crane, the owner's son, which infuriated a lot of people here. And now Reed is back with the Express, the Rangers team in Round Rock. And so Reed knew what a diehard baseball fan I am, going especially with the Astros, going back to their first game in 1962 when they beat the Cubs, and Bobby Shantz was the winner, and Ramon Mejias hit 2 home runs. And Bill Goss, who grew up in Waco with me, who will be at the event, Bill and I met in the 3rd grade, and we're the 2 diehard Astros fans that continue to be today. We exchanged texts about games, and so Reed asked me if he called me about they were shooting. He asked me, he said, I would like for them to interview you for this documentary about my dad, knowing what a baseball fan you are. And I said, well, I'd be honored. And I helped them set up over at the Houstonian, which is one of our 2 most exclusive hotels because the GM's a good friend of mine. So I went over there and talked about Nolan, and Bradley Jackson, the director, did a tremendous job. And so they asked me a lot of stories about when Nolan was here. And then I remembered when Nolan debuted with the Mets. And he was just a young whippersnapper then who threw hard but couldn't get the ball over the plate. And it's funny because they had Tom Seaver, Jerry Kuzman, a lefty, and then down on the staff was Nolan Ryan. And then, of course, one of the worst deals in history, they let Nolan go to the Angels. And he spent 8 years here. And his departure over money was one of the worst things that ever happened here. The owner, John McMullen from New York, didn't want to pay to keep him. And the Rangers said, we'll do it. So he goes to Arlington, which killed people here. And so I'm told, I still haven't seen it, that I'm in a few, that some of my quotes were used. And of course, I'm honored to be part of it, and I can't wait to see it. And I was invited to some private screenings, and it was played at Southwest Film Festival, which is a huge deal. But I've just been tied up with football, couldn't do it, so I can't wait. And everybody listed on Sikkim Sports is going to be really engrossed in a lot of stories about Nolan Ryan in this tremendous documentary.
Yeah, John, I every time I see, as a Red Sox fan, I see Wade Boggs riding a horse in Yankee Stadium after they won the World Series. I'm pretty sure that's probably how Astro fans feel when they show the statue of Nolan Ryan in Arlington.
Even though they've never been really good at the same time, when the Rangers won the World Series, the Astros are terrible. Now the Rangers are terrible. I wish that the 2 of them could go neck and neck for the division title. That would make the rivalry even better. But because they play so much, it's been lopsided recently because of the Astros. And before that, it was lopsided by the Rangers. And to think that Nolan from Alvin, just south of Houston, has a statue up there, it's sickening for fans down here, but they can blame it on John J. McMullen.
John, I can't help but ask about the Ben McAdoo comments from today. They're getting a lot of play. He told reporters that Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback and then had to correct himself and say, that wasn't something I should have said. I mean, how concerned should Carolina fans be about just the chemistry and things of that nature, just the direction the franchise is heading right now?
Craig, you never know. because when McAdoo was an assistant coach, he was highly thought of. And he didn't do well as a head coach and got fired quickly. Who knows if they'd have stuck with him a while. But I think him to say that he wanted to support his quarterback.
Gotcha.
And right now, he's their starting quarterback. If they draft somebody with a 6th pick, there's nobody worth coming in there and starting. I think if you're bad and you need a quarterback, bite the bullet, because next year is going to be a great quarterback draft led by Alabama's Bryce Young and Ohio's C.J. Stroud, who are better than all the prospects this year, all the prospects last year, other than Trevor Lawrence, if they come out as expected. So I think you can't say that, of course, and you're not tanking games, but people can't make you play a certain quarterback. So play Sam Darnold. Don't waste that 6th pick on a quarterback and then turn around next year and need another one and have a chance at one's even better. Problem with the Panthers, of course, is if they took the quarterback next year that high, Matt Rhule's going to be back in college football.
Well, that's what I was going to follow up with. Matt Rhule, wouldn't he have to convince David Tepper that, look, none of these quarterbacks are really going to help us. We're going to have to put this off for another year?
That doesn't mean Tepper thinks that he's the guy.
Yeah.
I've talked to several media people over there and said Matt's a dead man walking, that they just expect he's going to be fired. He doesn't have a lot of talent. You know, he's the one that wanted to do that expensive deal to get Sam Darnold. And I hope they bounce back. You know, I told people over there, be patient. He turned around Temple. He turned around Baylor. He can turn around Carolina. But the NFL teams just don't have patience. You know, they're all like the Longhorns. They want to change coaches every 2 years if things don't work the way they want. Sometimes you've got to show some patience.
John, do you feel that within the next year, if that long, that Daniel Snyder will remain the owner of Washington?
David, I know you as a Washington fan. My wife is a Washington fan. Is there any Washington fan out there that wants to see Daniel Snyder continue to own the team? Think about how many billions he could make in profit, but he doesn't care. He's already a multi-billionaire. But remember, even if they decide to try to force him out, it requires 3/4 of the owners. Now, I don't believe, based on everything I've heard through the last 2 decades, that he's real popular, that he's been involved in helping owners do things, policy and all that. He's not respected. And the kind of things he's been involved with, I think owners are like, no, they don't like it, but it doesn't take money from their pockets. If you want them to get mad at an owner, you think they're taking money from their pockets, like Stephen Ross would if gamblers thought, oh, they're tanking games, I'm not going to bet on the NFL anymore. That's taking billions away. And so if they ever bring it to a vote, I would be surprised if they could not get 3/4. And not only would they get a new owner, they would probably reward that owner with a new stadium. He's let his stadium go from one of the nicest to the worst, with a fan base that's turned its back on him. And the franchise is an embarrassment compared to the way it used to be when it was one of the best and most successful and respected everywhere. So if they force him out, you're going to get a new owner, and then that owner is probably going to get his stadium back down where RFK Stadium was, and they experienced so much success. It's a win-win for everybody, but it's an ugly situation. He filed lawsuits, I'm guessing, depending on what they find in these investigations. Maybe he'll be like Jerry Richardson. I'm going to sell this team before the posse gets me.
That franchise, even though they haven't had the kind of history that maybe Dallas or the Steelers or others, is no question one that was incredible. Jack Kent Cook had done a great job with that franchise. John, we appreciate you very much. Can't wait to talk about the draft next week.
Guys, thank you very much, and stay calm.
Thank you very much. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Tuesdays with us.